Humans Don't Believe in Ghosts, written by Rugi 2001. Ghost, the spirit of a dead person, sometimes represented as a pale, almost transparent image of that person that some people believe appears to people who are alive. Supernatural, that which is caused by forces that cannot be explained by science. Haunted, something, someone, or some place often visited or possessed by ghosts. Those are the definitions given by the Human Dictionary to things around which revolved my old job. Every sentient and sapient culture has, at some point in time, wondered about what happens after death and what exactly ghosts and spirits are. Because, yes, life after death does exist, and yes, it's consistent throughout the galaxy. Now, to the keen observer, one thing will be particularly conspicuous. None of the human definitions above accept the afterlife as a reality, dismissing it as de facto the fruit of folklorist tales and scientific ignorance. And yet, the intergalactic scientific community has already proven the existence of such phenomena as real and scientifically proven. So, what's the reason why humans are so skeptical? For those of you who are not familiar with the notion, though I feel personally offended by such ignorance in my class, haunted spirits are classified according to the intergalactic threat categorization system, a simple tiered scale. Spirits of E-class are almost unnoticeable, and only the most sensible physics and sensitives will perceive their presence. They do not pose a threat whatsoever, and will disappear by themselves given enough time. D-class are simply slightly more powerful than E-class, but in no meaningful way or measure. They can last for longer, but just like E-class, they can't interfere with either the physical nor the mental plane. C-class start being more annoying. They can haunt places for an indeterminate amount of time, decades sometimes, and can interfere with the mental plane. They usually haunt the dreams of those who have experienced a trauma, suffer of mental disorders, or simply have a frail psyche. They constitute the 92% of cases for which a pacifier, exorcist in human terms, is usually called, and they pose no threat to the lives of people, except for the extreme and rare cases, about 1 in every 200,000. B-class spirits are powerful enough to manifest themselves in the physical plane for short periods of time, can manipulate objects, and do not disappear if left alone. They can pose a threat to sentient life from the very beginning of the infestation, and usually a team of at least 3 experienced pacifiers is required to deal with them. They constitute the 6% of recorded cases of haunting. A-class are what you would hope to never encounter. They never lose the ability to manifest and interact with the physical realm, are powerful enough to haunt spaces as big as villages or entire spaceships. They usually roam particular places they held dear or were attached to while alive, but contrary to B-class and below, they are now strictly bound to them. They are free to change the object of their haunting in a matter of hours, and have the means to control living beings. To deal with them, you need a team of at least 12 very experienced and very courageous pacifiers, and lots of preparation. They constitute 1.999999% of recorded cases of haunting. And lastly, X-class spirits. They are called Class X because their power is too great to gauge accurately. They are not bound by space, instead haunting whatever may catch their attention, and there is no conventional protection that can take hold against them. They cannot be killed without their own consent, and they can only be temporarily sealed. They luckily constitute only the 0.00001% of recorded cases of haunting. If you feel like you may be dealing with an X-class spirit, run away. Contact the Intergalactic Haunted Goods Dismantling Office and pray that you didn't steer their interest. Now, I can't stress it far enough. Keep in mind that not all spirits are aggressive or violent per se. Ghosts are extremely susceptible to the emotions of living beings. If treated with fear, panic, and hostility long enough, even the gentlest spirit will become a vicious spectre. So back to the point. I would like to ask all of you a simple question. How many human ghost-haunted cases are recorded in intergalactic archives, in your opinion, and which class are they mostly related to? Contrary to what you may believe, it's not 0. It's 2020, and they are all X-class spirits, except for 2 A-class. I would also like to point out how those 2 A-class are recorded as extremely powerful and are not considered X-class spirits simply because of a technicality. The X-class denomination was introduced exclusively for human remnants. So, how is it possible for a species like that not to believe in ghosts and such, when all of their spirits are strong enough to be an undeniable truth? The answer is simple. On their home planet Earth, and in every other human colony and colonized planet, there are no ghosts. In all of their history, humans have had a total of only 42 documented cases of supernatural infestations, and even around those there is a veil of uncertainty and skepticism. To explain this, I'll tell you all the story of my past as a pacifier, and a personal theory. Many years ago, I experienced an X-class spirit haunting. It was 7452 IY intergalactic year, and I was in a deep space of Sector Burrus, not too far from the human's home system, Sol. I had been called for a B-class ghost on a Talaxian spaceship, and I was one of the 4 pacifiers the agency had contacted for the job. You see, haunting is extremely common in spaceships. The scientists gave a scientific explanation long ago, but it's complicated and tedious. Suffice to say that far away from home, in the deep void, and free of any external interaction, the spirits of the dead do not disperse fast enough and end up as infestations, remnants, or haunting ghosts. The technical name for a spirit haunting a spaceship is a remnant. Now, as I expect all of you to know, there are only a few rules they follow, but they are semi-reliable. 1. There is only ever one per ship, and if another appears, the weaker of the 2 will vanish. This is a common rule for other types of infestations too, so keep it in mind. 2. They share many aspects of the crew member that died in their forming. This includes routines, habits, likes and dislikes. Never forget it. 3. The place they can be found in are usually their quarters, places they frequented for work or pleasure, and where they died. They cannot leave those areas under normal circumstances, unless they are an A-class or above. Sadly, humans are never any less than the very top. 4. Most, but not all remnants can be cleansed from their haunted space with sufficient effort. As I was saying, it was 7452, and I had been assigned for a job on the TTC Explorer 2, a private spaceship where a newly formed B-class remnant had manifested itself just the day prior. According to intel, it seemed to be caused by the recent death of their head engineer, Hurl, caused by a pirate attack. And even though it was still the newborn, sorry for the pun, it was already showing signs of rage and resentment, mostly towards the very notion of pirates. They wanted us to pacify it, then allow it to move on before it became too dangerous. When my team arrived in front of the personal quarters of the deceased engineer, with an offering of Talaxian sweets and some human weed, the spirit immediately appeared before us. It had a normal appearance, albeit a little translucent, and a happy expression. Had we not been aware of its already dead, we could have easily thought him as still alive. Without saying a word, it gestured for us to come in, and automatically closed the doors behind us, even though they had been remotely deactivated. The room was cold enough for our breaths to condense, but not too much to be actually uncomfortable. It then started eating the sweets while the human in our team, Susan, one of the first human pacifiers of the galaxy, and one of the most powerful sensitives I've ever known, prepared a joint for it. As she offered it to the spirit, she connected with it. No matter how prepared I could be, or how many times I had seen it happen, it was always incredible. I had some psychic powers too, but nothing compared to Susan. Mine were just about enough not to fall prey to a dream demon. Hers were on the league of their own. You would normally need a team of 3 and a couple hours to do what she did alone in a couple of minutes. As she stayed there for some time, her eyes closed, we could feel the presence emanating from the remnant slowly diminishing, until the pirates didn't attack. As the spacecraft shook from a sudden blast from the main engines, a small fleet consisting of 9 ships, 8 night class and 1 giant class, came out of hyperjump and surrounded the Explorer 2. From the head engineer's room, we could hear the whole structure creak, strained by the sudden tractor beams pointed at it. In a split second, the Talaxian ghost transformed, from a friendly appearance shifting to one of rage and madness. and its traits turned excavated, hollowed, and deteriorated. Its teeth became longer and pointier, and its hands morphed into sharp claws. Its eyes became wholly black, and its fur shortened, thick and bloody. At the same time, Susan screamed and collapsed on the ground, and Hurl disappeared. We immediately checked on her, her face covered in streaks of red blood spilling from her nose and eyes. As soon as she felt good enough to move on her own again, we all ran back to the bridge to talk with the captain. Apparently, the pirates had assaulted the Explorer 2 in an attempt to kidnap the young owner, the son of the senator of the Intergalactic Council. And apparently, the remnants had already possessed the main engines and was planning on crashing against the giant class in front of us in order to be able to engage with it. It would mean the death for everyone on board. So we took a desperate decision and, accompanied by an armed escort, we went to the engine rooms to try and pacify the remnant before it was too late. But as soon as we got on the lower decks, we knew that it wouldn't be possible. As we proceeded through the flickering lights and the hallways infested with newly formed mold, our communications went out. Our only source of light was now the lights and the laser rifles of our escorts. The deeper we went, the more powerful the remnant's presence became, while the others started chanting their own protective mantras, or whatever their cultural equivalent was. We got to the main engines. Inside the engine's room was clouds of steam and low, buzzing red lights. Broken machinery was forcefully operating, magically completing an impossible task, and loud clangs could abruptly cover the noise of the engine, startling us. As we marched towards the Hell's old workstation, we all realized something. I could see it in their eyes, the abrupt epiphany that the B-class that we were currently dealing with was little less than a full-fledged A-class. Then the acute screech of claws over metallic pipelines, accompanied by a freezing breath of something that wasn't of this world anymore. It got our escorts one by one, grabbing them by their feet and dragging them into the dark, while their terrified and agonizing screams filled the whole room. Then shortly after, a wet gurgling sound would follow, and then silence again. Then it appeared in front of us, and had it not been for Susan, I'm sure that I wouldn't be here now. She got between it and us, and started reciting a human ritual. I don't know the exact meaning of her words, as it was recited in its original language instead of Galactic Common, but I later learned that it was called the Exazamas Te, from a human book called the Romanum Ritual. The language was Latin, an ancient human tongue. As she recited her mantra, while repeatedly doing various human gestures, the remnant started flinching, getting visibly weaker. Weaker, not weak. Perceiving her as a menace to its very existence, the B-class tried possessing her. It slammed her against the wall and entered inside of her. She immediately started convulsing on the ground before passing out. At that rate, it would either take control of her body or kill her altogether. And in both cases, we didn't have much time. So we lifted her and carried her to the infirmary, where we began practicing every pacifying ritual we could think of. That was the moment in which the captain called for us. There was something going on the bridge, they said, audibly freaked out. I remember being the only one in the team going in order to not leave Susan alone. But as soon as I got there, my very soul left my body. Let me be extra clear. Whoever does not possess the gift is not capable of perceiving the spirits, unless they are the ones manifesting themselves. And yet, at that moment, everyone present knew something big was coming. They just couldn't realize how big. I could only watch in horror as every instinct inside of me screamed to simply get the fuck out of there. The deep space scanners were going nuts, beeping casually and disconnecting. The interstellar communication systems was crackling like an old recording device, the sound quality horrible, and an old human lullaby was playing on the loop. Then every light on the whole ship turned off, on every ship present. For a moment, absolute silence reigned. If not for the real window present there, I would have never known what had happened after. The space started trembling like a blanket, and opened itself like a veil. A gigantic ancient spaceship, at least twice the size of a Titan class named Argo, exited the space rift, dragging with it flaps and threads of space itself. The void bent to the very ship, assuming the form of waves of blackness in no way different from the ones on the sea, and I swear I saw for a moment a wooden ship with masts and sails traversing the deep between worlds. Then Susan appeared behind us, Her eyes glowed, and she floated a foot high from the floor. She opened her arms, and with a voice that seemed a chorus of 1,000 different people, she spoke. I am Argo. I am the protector of the void, explorer of space, seeker of knowledge. I am the seed of new life, fruit of Gaia, bringer of fertility. I am the eternal cosmic flame, never burning out, never fading. I burn eternal in every human heart. I am the new beginning. Susan then extended her arms, and everyone present stopped moving. Every clock on site stopped. Every sound disappeared. Everything was frozen in time. Except me, for some reason. Young flame, she asked, looking at me, you shall witness us, bring testimony of us. The universe has yet to learn of us, of the children of Gaia, of the bringers of the eternal flame. And so unto the universe we shall send you. You will be our voice, you will speak our words. You will bring our flame. As she spoke those words, every nerve of my body got chills, my very soul trembling. Whatever it was that was speaking through Susan, it was, something else. What happened to? I asked, scared to death. We guided Hellworld's soul already. We showed him the way. And got him to a new land. He shall now go on his journey, spoke 1,000 voices through Susan. Then she extended both arms, and what seemed to be fog got out of the rift and engulfed every ship except ours. When it cleared, the ships were no more, gone without a trace. They shall be a warning, forever gone, engulfed by the void. No child of Gaia will fall today, she said, with an imposing tone. Then she turned towards me. Son of Urul, you shall bring our voice to the world. And with our knowledge, you shall spread the flame. She grabbed my head with a hand and placed it over my heart, and I felt everything for only a moment. Then I passed out. When I woke, I was in the medical unit, together with everyone else, in what seemed to be another ship. An officer later came to us and explained that they had suddenly found us near Ultron, the Explorer 2's original destination. At almost 1,000 light-years of distance, 1 week and a half in hyperjump from where we were just an hour before, and without our ship being detected by any of the planet's scanners, without our engines, and without a single person awake to drive the ship. There was no recordings past my arrival on the bridge, and no traces whatsoever of the pirate ships. Disappeared as if they had never existed in the first place. No one from the Explorer 2's personnel remembered anything, not even Susan, and it took a lot of time for them to believe me when I told them what had happened. That was my last day as a pacifier. That very day I resigned, and soon after I applied as a teacher here. Later on I discovered, with the help of Susan, that Argo was originally a human generational ship with over 400,000 people on board, all in cryostasis, from the time before humanity had achieved FTL. It was destined towards Alpha Centauri 7 centuries ago, when it never arrived, and it was thought forever lost in space. Until that day. Now, my personal theory, albeit infinitesimal, there is a possibility for more than one ghost during the formation of a remnant to merge and turn into a new being. That is a fact that has been already proven. You can refer to Garlassian's Records, file 332.55, or Causality of Death by Olcrovis III. Let's say for just a moment that a remnant was born from the convergence of 400,000 different souls instead of 2, for some sick joke of the universe. How powerful do you think the resulting spirit would be? Exactly. According to rule number 1 in regarding remnants, there is only ever one per ship, and if another appears, the weaker of the two will vanish. That means it's no wonder how such an entity could easily deal with a B-class on the Explorer 2. Well, what would have happened if, instead of merging together, the human souls in the Argo had to fight to the last man standing? Would the resulting spirit be as powerful? Obviously not. Nor would it have had the strength to operate such a huge ship as the Argo itself on its own. And This brings me back to why there aren't any ghosts in human areas. Any ideas? No? No one? Fine. But I am disappointed, class. And remember, this is just my personal hypothesis. It's because none of them can last long enough to actually gain control of something. Whenever a human dies, except a small percentage that moves on peacefully, their souls remain in the physical plane and tries to gain control of, or stay laced to, something. Then they either fail or move on, or succeed and remain, until they fight someone else that wins, and they get sent to the afterlife. After all, even spirits get tired of constant exertion. Which means that the very few spirits that actually get to remain on top of the chain long enough to survive and haunt something will inevitably be X-class. If hailing from a human environment, it's survival of the fittest, even in death. After all, their home world, Earth, is a Class 10 anti-magic planet. Simply remaining on this side of the veil, there is no joke even for a mid-tier A-class. Add to it the extreme competition and the sheer number of new deaths every day, and this perfectly explains why Earth has almost no supernatural recorded cases. Humans are simply too powerful, even for themselves. Professor Ulvak Senna, Extract, Lessons About Human Magic, Intergalactic Academy of Philosophy and Knowledge of Gallara, 7732 IY. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.